So I guess my point that I always try to make to people is that we think of breastfeeding kind of similar to bottle feeding. I think we think of it as like our, so how much milk should the baby be taking at this point, right? That's a huge one. I get that call all the time. I'm working now full time and I want to know how much milk the baby should be taking. And really that's a silly question when it comes to breastfeeding, because if you think to our like third world countries where people are still breastfeeding their 5-year-old children, and if we really went by quantity, right, these poor women would be walking around with watermelons, right? So really we have to think about quality. What happens with breastfeeding is that your quantity doesn't really change, your quality changes. If anything, you're going to get engorged and then everything's going to go down and you're going to feel like there's nothing there. So really what happens is you have to pay attention that the hormones that get sent back to your body from your baby is changing your quality of milk, not necessarily quantity. And what happens in turn, your quality gets better, so your fat gets higher, your protein gets higher, and then your milk becomes harder to pump. So I often get that call like, oh, I was pumping 4 ounces at a time last week and now I can only get 2. What's going on? Right? So that makes sense. And I think that everybody, well, you'll go to your doctor and they'll say, my baby's 6 months old, how much do they should be taking? And I don't know, they're going to give you some cockamamie number and you're going to say, oh my gosh, it's nowhere near that, I'm starving my child. Right? But it makes sense that if quality is changing with breast milk, quantity won't. So with formula, quality cannot change. It's the same. So when in order to give the quality you need to give more of the quantity. Right?
I did not know that.
That is an interesting point. And I think I try to tell people these things because I think people don't really realize where you're at. And unfortunately, you want to kind of pigeonhole yourself back into this box that we're normally within, which is a bottle feeding. Most of us came from a bottle feeding generation.